Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Tamara Ugolini here with Rebel News, bringing you some headache-inducing wokeism to sift through. We received this story through an anonymous tip to the Rebel News tip line, which anyone can email at tips@rebelnews.com. The sender of the email outlines a new crash course taking place at Trent University, which is based in Peterborough, Ontario, called literally just Black Lives Matter. The creator of this content is Associate Professor Charmaine Eddy, whose last documented salary from 2019 was just shy of $140,000 a year. She has a pretty mediocre rating on Rate My Professor of 3.2 stars out of 5. Looks like 0% of students would take her course again. Her most recent review calls her awful and notes that in the course they took, it was all about Black Lives Matter, or BLM, and had nothing to do with English literature. This, of course, coming from a well-paid English professor. Anyway, the anonymous tipster pointed out that the course description writes as a fact that there is, quote, state-sanctioned racial violence, end quote. And then later down in the syllabus under assignments, assessments, and tests, get this, you don't even have to write an essay. Instead, students have the option to, quote, mobilize the space of the classroom as a site of protest and to return to teaching as a radical form of community organizing in which they can plan a project and organize an event. This apparently is to recognize the effort of Frank Leon Roberts, who is the founder of the hashtag Black Lives Matter syllabus movement and the Black Lives Matter syllabus tour. Miss Eddy further dictates that the, quote, arts and literature are crucial to the BLM movement, and therefore, some weeks students will be asked to bring a cultural product in. That doesn't sound like cultural appropriation at all. She seems to proudly exclaim that she, quote, follows Sean King on Instagram, where he posts new and ongoing cases of racial violence and motivates grassroots petitions to help change the system. Yes, that's the same Sean King who has been accused by fellow activists as having questionable leadership. Those who have worked with him for funding campaigns have questioned where the funds have gone. There are questions about his blackness, and in 2019, the trending Twitter hashtag Sean King Let Me Down shows how he launches projects and then shuts them down without completing anything tangible. Check out what students are learning this week, for example. Oh yes, anti-racism and the problem of white fragility. Professor Eddy asks, is it right for her as a white professor to be teaching this material? And how should she be teaching it respectfully from a position of privilege? It brings me back to that salary that she makes a year. This week, she will be primarily focused on the insidious nature of white privilege as a basis for approaching the rest of the material in the course. Good luck to her students. I mean, are people actually paying for this to be exclusively held on Zoom course? I wonder if it's an easy pass or would involve too many mental gymnastics to try to sift through all of the pompous rhetoric. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. If you're a Canadian and maybe even an American, you have probably heard about the trucker convoy heading to Ottawa this week. We have reporters from coast to coast covering this massive undertaking. You can keep up with our reporting and help fund the expenses associated with this extensive travel at convoyreports.com. We will have daily updates and bring you breaking news as it happens. Please chip in if you can and follow our reports at convoyreports.com.